Hyundai's all-electric Ioniq family continues to expand in more ways than one, and for 2025 they are introducing the biggest member yet. This right here is the first ever 2025 Hyundai Ioniq9, a supersized three-row all-electric SUV that offers up to 335 miles of range. So today we're actually here at a studio in West Hollywood, California, and now that we're finally seeing the new Ioniq9 in the sheet metal, let's go ahead and take a detailed first look. Now, part of Hyundai's aggressive full electrification strategy, the company is basically promising that they're going to offer up to 23 different EVs from this architecture by the year 2030. And this model here, like I said, is the third model or third member of the Ioniq family, being the largest as well. Before we start talking about the exterior styling, let's go ahead and pop the hood, because that's always a big question with EVs. Does this vehicle have a frunk? And I'm happy to report, just like the Ioniq 5 and the Ioniq 6, and of course this car's main platform mate, the Kia EV9, you do have a pretty decent sized storage area. Now, Hyundai says that depending on whether you go for the single motor rear or dual motor all-wheel drive, you'll have either 3.2 cubic feet of storage space or 1.8. So obviously, if you guys go for all-wheel drive, the front motor is going to take up a little bit of space. All versions of the Ioniq9 here in the US will launch with a larger 110.3 kilowatt hour battery pack. That battery pack is about 10% larger versus the 99 kilowatt hour pack that's in the Kia EV9. That's the larger battery pack that Kia offers. And the company is basically targeting up to 335 miles of range. That's an EPA number if you guys go for the long-range rear-wheel drive variant. That's going to be the most efficient model with the smaller 19-inch wheels. But the company also says with its larger battery pack, they're saying that all trims of the Ioniq9 will offer at least 300 miles of range. So that's basically the magic number with a lot of EVs. It's why we have the larger battery pack here in the US. And horsepower is going to range. If you guys go for the single motor rear drive, you'll have around 215 horsepower. Add all-wheel drive with that extra motor, it goes up to 303. Add the performance version, that'll bump the power up to 422 horsepower. So again, really good power figures. It's going to basically vary the 0 to 60 time from as slow as 8.4 seconds to as quick as 4.9 when you guys go for the performance variant. They weren't ready to talk about a torque figure just yet. I estimate probably it'll be similar to what you see in the Kia EV9. It all goes out through a one-speed direction gear transmission, either rear or all-wheel drive. This vehicle is a 350 watt or kilowatt capable EV, so it runs on the 800 volt architecture. It essentially allows you to fast charge this vehicle from 10 to 80% in about 24 minutes, which should be around the quickest in the segment. Towing capacity should sit at around 5,000 pounds, and they weren't ready to talk about the curb weight figures just yet, but they did mention that the Ioniq9 will use a lot of aluminum in the components and in the body to help save weight. Although, if you guys remember our review of the EV9, that vehicle weighs close to 6,000 pounds, so I wouldn't be surprised if the Ioniq 9 weighed something similar to that. Let's talk about the exterior styling. Now, first of all, this exterior color is called Celadon Gray Metallic. Now, I want to point out that this is a Korean-spec car, and this color won't be coming to the US. A matte version of it will be coming to the US. It certainly is bold here in this studio lighting area because it actually looks green from certain angles, but then again, they call it a gray exterior color. Let's go ahead and close up this hood here and talk about the exterior styling. Now, first of all, if you guys remember the Ioniq 7 or the 7 concept, that was essentially this vehicle's, basis. That's what it started as. And they've really carried over a lot of the concept proportions into the production model. This particular color is also a really beautiful shade of green called Ionosphere Green Metallic. It's definitely a standout color. It goes well with the parametric pixels that you see on all of the Ioniq families. You can see it has that trademark and trendy full LED light bar with the individual pixel LEDs. It kind of carries over into the lower part of the front fascia with these gorgeous pixel headlights. You can see there's a bunch of pixel LEDs for the LED low and high beams. You have this kind of LED light signature here, along with this kind of very upright portion of the front fascia where there is no grille, because as you guys know, this is an EV, it doesn't really need the cooling. Behind this little glass area, there's actually more pixels along with the sensors for the full driver assistance tech. There's also a nicely integrated front camera, integrated parking sensors. There's also some active grille shutters here. I like how you kind of have this different multitude of colors here, from the green to the glossy black to the silver down here. Overall, it definitely creates for a nice aerodynamic shape as well. Now moving around the side profile, we'll show you guys a US-spec car later, and basically the big differences are those side mirrors. You can see those are the digital camera mirrors that you can get in Korea. Is not street legal here in the US, so we'll have a standard mirror. With those digital mirrors, Hyundai says that the coefficient of drag is 0.259, which is among the slipperiest you're going to find for an SUV. If you don't have those mirrors, it'll actually drop the drag coefficient to 0.27, which is still pretty good. You can see this particular car here, being a Korean spec, doesn't have tinted windows. You also have these really nice looking 21-inch wheels, which kind of have like a turbine airplane engine effect to them. This is kind of something that we've seen in other calligraphy models. You can see it's riding on a pretty fat 285 by 45 R21-inch tire. I also like the way this fender flare here has like a full paint finish to it with some of the black accents. They didn't talk about the ground clearance of this vehicle, but we can kind of speculate the EV9 has 7.8 inches. I would assume this vehicle would have roughly the same. Now looking at the proportions of the Hyundai Ioniq9, this is actually the biggest SUV that the company currently makes. Its wheelbase is around 123.2 inches long. Its overall length is around 199 inches long. So compared to the Palisade, this car has a wheelbase that's around 9 inches longer, with an overall length around 4 inches longer as well. Now you can see a lot of chrome trim here along the window trim. There's also aluminum accents here for the roof rails, and then you can see this model also has a panoramic sunroof that also appears like it opens up to vent air, which is really nice, along with a power retractable shade. It also has those signature pop-out door handles that we've seen on so many other EVs. Now moving around to the side profile, I mentioned earlier this is the biggest vehicle that Hyundai makes on the E-GMP architecture. Now the company says with its wheelbase of around 123.2 inches long, this is around 8 inches longer than the wheelbase on the 3-row Hyundai Palisade. It has an overall length of just over 199 inches long. Compared to the EV9, this is around 2 inches longer in the overall length, about an inch longer in the wheelbase. It's nearly 80 inches wide, and I really love the proportions of this vehicle. You can see it has this really kind of swept back look where the company is kind of making the hood shorter, so they're able to kind of push the windshield out to kind of improve the aerodynamics. You can see it almost has like a slope, a teardrop slope at the back that kind of helps with the overall sleekness of the vehicle, and of course to help the vehicle achieve those aerodynamic proportions that you need. And then you can see, looking at the wheels, this particular trim that we're showing you is the SEL trim. It's technically the baser trim. There's also going to be a limited and a calligraphy model. You can see this SEL comes with this kind of directional spoke aerodynamic 20-inch wheel wrapped in a 275 by 50 R20 tire. We also had a chance to look at a Korean-spec calligraphy, and that actually had a 21-inch wheel on an even fatter 285 width tire with almost like a interesting shape to the wheel. All disc brakes, of course. The EV9 has around a 15-inch rotor at the front, 14-inch rotor at the back. I imagine this vehicle will use something similar. They weren't ready to talk about the ground clearance yet, but I imagine this will also be pretty similar to its Kia corporate cousin. I like the way the fender flares look here with the gloss black, with this kind of painted element here. It almost has like a little flared out area in the fender, which definitely helps to make this vehicle look a little bit more muscular, which I appreciate. The side mirrors, as you can see, have an integrated camera system, turn signals. I believe they're also power folding. And you can see there is some chrome trim here along the belt line of the vehicle, along with the silver accents over here. This model, as you're seeing here, doesn't have a panoramic sunroof, although Hyundai does offer it on the higher end trims. It also does open up to vent air, which is a nice touch. It also has these pop-out retractable door handles, which again are going to help with the aerodynamics. And then you can see this particular angle here will really show off how stretched out the Ioniq 9 is. This particular door here is for the charge port for the vehicle. Now here in America, when Hyundai says this vehicle goes on sale, what you're seeing here is a CCS combo plug. However, when it'll launch in the States, it'll actually come standard with the Tesla NACS plug, so the NACS plug. That will basically allow this vehicle to have access to over 17,000 Tesla superchargers. Not the full 23,000, that's because this vehicle runs on the 800-volt architecture, whereas most of the Tesla charging stations are still on the 400 volts, so Hyundai is basically only counting the ones that can accommodate an 800-volt architecture. They didn't talk about what the charge capacity is on a level 2, but an EV9 has around an 11 kilowatt onboard charger. You could probably expect this to take roughly around 10 hours to charge on a level 2, or again 10 to 80% in about 24 minutes. If you guys go for the longest range model with the 19-inch wheels, you'll get up to 335 miles, but this should have almost 300, or at least 300. Now you can see, looking at the rear of the vehicle, there's a very distinctive lighting signature back here. You can see these LED pixels completely light up, and they go all the way around the entire portion of the rear hatch. That definitely gives it a really cool light signature at night. You can see it has that new trademark here with the Hyundai logo behind the glass where it's smooth. It boldly spells out Ioniq9 as well. And then if you are looking for a rear window wiper, that's actually cleverly tucked away underneath this spoiler. It looks really good, actually. I love this kind of, clean design that Hyundai is doing with the pixel themes for the full LED taillights. You can see down here there's your reverse light, some integrated parking sensors as well. And then you can see more of the pixels carry over into the lower portion of the bumper, along with the silver, the black. This ionosphere green color is also absolutely fantastic. And then looking at the cargo area, being the biggest vehicle on the E-GMP architecture, Hyundai also was ready to talk about some cargo figures. Now, if you guys are looking at the Kia version, you guys will notice that the cargo area is pretty similar. Hyundai says you'll have around 21.9 cubic feet of storage space with the third row seat up. A third row seat is going to be standard. It does seat 2 people across. There are also some features back here like a actual 120 volt power outlet as well. There's also a 12 volt power outlet on the other side of the vehicle, some LED lighting. If you look under here, you can see there's some pretty decent underfloor storage in addition to the under hood storage, which is also a pretty nice touch. Over here, you can see that actually will adjust. It looks like the height of the power liftgate, which, as you guys saw, power liftgate is included. And then if you want to fold down the third row, Hyundai does offer a power folding third row on the calligraphy trim, but I actually really prefer the manual fold down. Fold down the third row, it expands the cargo to around 46 cubic feet of space, which is a pretty decent number, but it does trail the 3-row Palisade by a good deal. And that's because I suspect that the battery pack takes up a little bit of room in here, but the E-GMP was designed to be an EV vehicle from the start. If you fold down the second row, Hyundai didn't actually have a full figure just yet with all the seats folded, but if you look at the Kia version, that offers around 82 cubic feet, so I would suspect this model should be pretty similar. Now, moving inside this Korean-spec version in the calligraphy trim, we're going to show you guys a different trim later on, but I wanted to quickly show you some of the differences with the calligraphy. Now, first of all, when I get inside the vehicle, it has that nice easy step-in height. As I shut the door has a really solid sounding thunk. Remember, this is built on the E-GMP architecture. Now, if you guys have spent some time in the interior of the new Santa Fe, for example, you can see there's a ton of space in here, and there's also a ton of technology that kind of reminds you again that this is part of the Hyundai family. You have that standard 12.3-inch display in the center of the dash here with the 12.3-inch fully digital cluster. It has that new steering wheel with the 4 dots here to show that it says H in Morse code for the Hyundai logo, of course. Ignore these camera mirrors. As you can see, this is essentially to show what those digital camera side mirrors are doing. The US car won't have that. In terms of materials, you can see this is a soft touch injection molded plastic. You also have this kind of padded leather over here, padded over here. Window controls, they're one touch for all 4, which is also really nice. And really what the calligraphy trim gives you is the badging that you get over here with this kind of interesting texture and pattern for the actual trim with the kind of gray painted plastic. You can see over here there's a mixture of traditional knobs and buttons. There's a fingerprint scanner over here. And being a Korean-spec car, you can see there is a UVC disinfectant filter here. Basically, it's like what we see in the new Santa Fe, where you can basically put your phone inside this bin right here, push this little button, it'll actually clean and sanitize your phone using an ultraviolet light. So that's something that won't be coming to the US apparently, although that could change in the coming years because Hyundai basically says they're trying to maximize storage. That takes up a good amount of storage space. But this interior color, as you can see, is kind of like a dark teal / dove gray two-tone. It's actually a recycled leather material. These seats are also heated and ventilated, and while there is a massaging feature available in the Korean-spec market, here in the US, sadly, that won't be coming to America, at least at launch. You can see the center console has some nice areas here for your cup holders. It has your wireless phone charging pad. Your drive mode selector is here. And then if you also look over here, you can see just like in the Santa Fe, this little console area has dual latches, so I can open up this way, or the passengers from behind here can also open it up that way as well, which kind of adds to the functionality, and it really makes this interior a nice place to spend time. But we don't have very much time with this vehicle here. I just wanted to show you guys the calligraphy model, but we'll swap into the US-spec car so you guys can kind of see the differences. Now, switching over to a US-spec version of the all-new Hyundai Ioniq9, first of all, I want to clarify, and I think my eyes must be playing tricks with me because I said in the calligraphy model that was actually the dark teal and dove gray interior. This is actually the dark teal, so that greenish and gray interior. What I showed you before in the calligraphy was kind of like a mud gray and a creamy beige interior. So as you can see, even though this is the lower SEL trim, you have the same kind of recycled leatherette material here for the seats. And the seats themselves, they are also still around a 14-way power adjustable feature. Hyundai does still offer like a massaging seat function in other markets, but it won't be coming at least to the US at launch. But overall, as you can see, the seats definitely look really interesting with the 4 dots that are also embedded into the actual seat backs. The seats themselves appear to also be heated and ventilated, so it's a really nice touch that even the base SEL trim gets the heated and ventilated seats along with the 2-person memory function. So that's again all really nice features that I wasn't really expecting to find in the lower end trim level of the car. Now stepping inside, it has that nice easy step-in height, and then when I shut the door has a really solid sounding thunk, just like the Calligraphy model. But again, I want to point out that this is a US-spec car, which is great. It has traditional side mirrors. It's a shame actually that the US doesn't allow those digital side mirrors with the cameras, although they were a little bit weird looking on the outside. It kind of just expands your view when you're kind of looking around the vehicle. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the interior materials because we didn't really get a chance to get into that earlier in the Calligraphy. You can see this upper portion has a soft touch injection molded plastic, and it also has that really cool kind of ripple texture that you also see here that we first saw in the Ioniq 6. It's kind of carried over here. There's also some ambient lighting in the actual door pocket here. You have these aluminum accents for the door handles, the window controls. They are one touch up down for all 4, just like in the Calligraphy. So it's nice to see it even in this trim. And it also looks like this button here appears to be for the massage function, but as you can see, as I touch it, it's not working. This is a really early pre-production car, so there are a couple of features that you still may see in here that may not make it to the production US version. You can see the steering wheel. It's that new steering wheel with the 4-dot Morse code here that also illuminates just like in the Ioniq 6, and it still includes a power tilt telescoping function. It's great to see that even on this lower trim. It also has that camera that watches your face for Hyundai's Highway Driving Assist 2.0. And then over here, you're going to find your drive mode selector. You can see with the start stop button here that's on the shifter. If I put the vehicle into reverse, which it won't let me do because we are kind of like in a park mode here for presentation purposes, you do have that full 360 camera. And then all Ioniq 9s will come with basically their latest CNCC software. So you've got 2 12.3-inch displays. You can see the software behind it looks pretty good. It's also quick and snappy. It has over-the-air updates. It also includes wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. That's my phone connected. And you can see the driver faces a fully digital 12.3-inch cluster. Unlike the Kia, which also included a screen here for the climate, Hyundai doesn't do that. Instead, they put the climate down here where you have actual knobs and buttons here for the tri-zone climate control. You have knobs as well for the let me go ahead and turn that up. Knobs as well for the volume and for the tuning function. You can see the air vents are very traditional. I really appreciate that as opposed to being a motorized vent. And you can see here on the SEL, you kind of have this like wood textured fake trim here. It's a fake wood trim, but it looks really nice. It has some ambient lighting. It has this kind of gray matte finish here, plastic on the actual dash. This upper portion here is a soft touch injection molded plastic. It's lacking a heads-up display on this trim, but it definitely still feels really upscale. It also feels very modern. It just feels like a lounge in here. That's kind of what Hyundai was going with. Now, I also forgot to mention, here's the key fob for the vehicle. You can see it's that egg-shaped key that we first saw on the Ioniq 6, I believe, where if you flip it on its side, it's the Hyundai logo. It has your usual buttons here for lock, unlock, remote start, panic. And then you can see it also has their smart park feature where you can open up the hood as well. You can move the vehicle forward and back with the fob. You can also open up the tailgate. Hyundai also offers their digital key too, where you can use your phone as a key, which is also a really nice touch. You can see over here in the center console, your drive mode selector is right here. It looks like there's 4 different drive modes, and the car actually
wireless charger.
The car actually decided to turn itself off because it's on a 5-minute timer. This allows you to choose your drive mode selector. You can also activate the full 360 camera. As you can see, I pushed that button and it basically allows you to do a full 360 perimeter scan. It even shows the actual car. I think you can also change the color of the car on the screen. And again, the quality and the resolution is among the best you're going to find. So it's great to see a feature like this, even on the baser SEL trim, which is a nice touch. Now, in the calligraphy that we showed you earlier, it had that UVC ultraviolet light cleaner for your phone. As you can see in the US car, it doesn't offer that feature. Instead, you have 3 USB-C charging ports. You have a 12-volt power outlet here. You have some additional storage here and some additional storage here. The UVC cleaner basically takes up space here that Hyundai thought was better served to basically have additional storage. You have a wireless phone charging pad here with a fingerprint scanner, it looks like, although that may not be included on this particular trim. Open this up, you can see that actually opens up to reveal a pretty decent storage area as well. This also comes out where you can see it reveals an even deeper storage area, and that's because this console here actually does slide to give you more versatility. You can also open it up from the back here, just like in the calligraphy trim, which is really cool for second row passengers to kind of get access to that. That's a really nice touch. The seats themselves here, you can see, also have additional buttons to where you can kind of adjust the positioning of the front passenger seat from these little buttons here. I love how Hyundai and Kia and Genesis offers that. The fake leather material in here does feel pretty high quality. The padding also feels nice. I'll have to wait until I drive one to actually get a feel for the comfort of the seats, but I have to say initially they also feel really nice. Now, glove compartment you can see is huge. It goes into the dash. It's lit up, it's damped but not lined with felt. There's also additional storage over here on this upper portion of the dash. There's also an upgraded Bose stereo in this car, which I'm not going to get a chance to test it out, but it's nice that even the lower trim here includes that feature. But overall, as you can see, there's also a digital rearview mirror camera along with the frameless auto dimming. And then without the sunroof, you can see here, there's a little bit more headroom space along with this woven material, along with some LED lighting. So for those of you who prefer sunroof, I prefer one, but without it, you can see it certainly improves on the headroom. And this vehicle definitely feels like a modern interpretation of what something like a next generation Palisade would even look like. Now moving into the second and third row of the all-new Hyundai Ioniq 9, first of all, this rear door is huge, and that's because this vehicle has the longest wheelbase that Hyundai's ever done at 123 inches. The door also opens up a pretty big amount, so it allows you to have like a big opening here if you guys want to fit this with a child seat. And as you can see, this particular one that I'm showing you has the bench seat. Hyundai will also offer captain's chairs. The captain's chairs will be included as standard on the high trims like the calligraphy. This allows you to seat up to 7 people, and that's because the third row, which we'll show you later, will only seat 2 people across as opposed to 3 people across. But as you can see here with the bench, there's a ton of space. In fact, Hyundai says that with this with this seat basically in my driving position, the second row legroom here is up to 42 inches. 42 inches is actually more than what you get in the Palisade, and I love the fact that there's a completely flat floor. There's some additional storage over here. You have your own climate control areas here, which is nice, along with 3-level heated seats. There's a button here for cooled seats, although I'm not sure Hyundai will offer cooled seats in the second row here in the US. And you can see you've got your 2 USB-C charging ports. You've got 2 storage cubbies in each of the seat backs. And then you can see the material quality here is the same soft touch injection molded plastic. You have these manual retractable sunshades, which is nice. You can also see the ambient lighting here with that kind of ripple texture with this kind of leatherette material here, the leatherette material here. The window controls have that high quality feel. They are one touch for all 4, which is really nice. And then down here you can see there's additional storage. It's all hard touch plastic. But again, this door panel area certainly still looks very modern and also has a high quality feel. Now, because the vehicle is almost 80 inches wide, you can easily fit 3 people across here, which is nice. If I fold this down, you can see there's an armrest with 2 cup holders, and this seat back also gives you the ability to kind of recline it. So if you want to get a little more comfortable, this is also a really nice touch, or you can sit a little bit more upright. There's a ton of headroom space here, especially if you guys don't go for the sunroof, which will take up a little bit of space. But let's go ahead and hop into the third row area, because I want to show you guys what that's like. There's a simple button here at the top. Push that button, you can see that basically slides the seat forward. It slides a little different than the passenger side where Rob is in, but getting back here, let me go ahead and pull this seat back into its position and show you guys the space. Now, this doesn't appear to have come all the way back, but Hyundai basically says you have around 31-ish inches of legroom back here, which is pretty similar to the EV9. You can see with this seat in this position, my knees are up against the actual seat back. Now you can have the passenger move this seat forward a little bit, so it's not quite as spacious in the third row as the 3-row gas-powered Palisade, but it's still a pretty nice place to spend time. I'm surprised you could technically make this 3 people across, although again, it's a little bit narrow here for the middle position here. I can definitely see that, but it would be nice to have that flexibility. You can see this window here is pretty large, which I appreciate. Your rear seat air vents are located in the ceiling. There's still third row air vents. There's a USB-C charging port here. This area is hard touch plastic, but you do have cup holders right here. The same thing kind of carries over here where you have technically 2 cup holders as opposed to 1, along with a USB-C port. You can also see this seat also does give you the ability to kind of recline slightly by just kind of pulling on this little strap. But overall, as you can see, headroom space is a ton, just like in the EV9. This actually probably has more headroom space than the Hyundai Palisade, but as you can also see, the third row legroom is a little bit tight, but it's still a very usable third row and a pinch for average size adults. So as the largest and most family-friendly member of the new Ioniq family, I have to say a lot of things about the new Ioniq 9 seem very appealing, especially if you guys are coming from, let's say, a Palisade and you want to go into a fully electric vehicle. The all-new 2025 Ioniq 9 should easily satisfy that. As you can see, the exterior styling is very bold. This vehicle, to me, looks very modern, but it also looks pretty timeless. I love the parametric pixel design theme here with the pixels for the LEDs. I love the proportions of the vehicle with its kind of squared off look, its boxiness. I love the premium touches that also Hyundai is doing here with the LED lighting, with the styling elements, how aerodynamic it is. The range of the vehicle is also very impressive at around 335 miles of max range. But again, most models should have over 300 miles. That is essentially the magic number for a lot of people when they're considering an EV, especially if you plan on going on those longer road trips. It's also one of the quickest charging EVs. I am looking forward to driving one because, again, Hyundai says the performance variant should hit 60 in under 5 seconds. But again, if you guys go for the dual motor non-performance, it'll probably do it in the 6-second range, which is honestly going to be plenty fast for most people. The interior is full of a lot of interior space, full of the latest and greatest technology, and it also has some pretty comfortable seats. And overall, as you guys can see, the Ioniq 9 should definitely stand out. There's a lot of new competitors entering the space, like the Rivian R1S, the EV9, a Tesla Model X, and I have to say this is probably one of my favorite looking vehicles. Now, if you guys are looking to get your hands on the all-new Ioniq 9, you're going to have to wait until the spring of next year, so spring 2025, and Hyundai says that production of this vehicle in North America will be built here in North America at their new plant in Georgia, which means theoretically this car could qualify for the $7,500 federal tax credit, assuming that sticks around. Hyundai wasn't ready to talk about final pricing just yet of this vehicle. In fact, they couldn't even tell us what the base price could start at. Now, I also do want to speculate here and point out its sister vehicle, the EV9, starts at just under 55 grand. A Hyundai Palisade starts at around 36 grand. So obviously, I'm going to estimate when this car goes on sale in the spring, it'll probably start in the mid $50,000 range, perhaps go all the way up to almost $80,000 for the calligraphy model, which is pretty darn expensive. But again, that's just my speculation. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys think the pricing is going to be and what you guys think it should be. But with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my very full detailed overview on the brand new 2025 Hyundai Ioniq 9. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews. Like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.